It is Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. This is another edition of Football Today. You know those dudes. Justin Penik, Bobby Skinner. I am Chris Rose. Producer Mikey, always along for the ride as well. Quick announcement. We're going to do our first mailbag. I don't think we've done one of those, right, Bobby?
Never, ever.
All right. So people can leave their questions, whatever they want, here in the comments section. We'll also send it out via social media, so make sure you get those in so we can have one of those episodes coming up perhaps later in the week, early next week. We'll see how good your questions are. No pressure, but help us out a little bit. We've got the entire landscape of the NFL still to go. So
mailbags are actually great. They're our least listened to episode because we do one every single week on Talking Giants once the season starts.
Mm-hmm.
But I truly believe they're the best episodes because you just get to go and dive in on one topic, spend 10 minutes on it.
Yeah.
And really spend some time on it. So
I think they're the best shows too.
Oh, that's good.
I agree.
Good. Well, let's do it. I can't wait. But today, we're almost at kick. We've got a week and a half till the first game happens. The Ravens and the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football, and then we have a game in São Paulo, Brazil, Eagles and Giants, and then we got a full slate on Sunday, and then we got Aaron Rodgers return to the field. So, we can't wait to break all that stuff down. But today, we are going to do our final records for all 32 teams and our playoff predictor. We're going to give you our Super Bowl champion and everything else. But, Bobby, can I tell you the little story about how I got through this whole thing? Did you use the little playoff predictor that Penik sent?
I use Pro Football Networks.
Okay. Which one did we use, Penik?
We used I simply think it's called Playoff Predictors, and it goes through every sport: basketball, baseball, hockey.
Okay. All right. So I was having a little trouble with mine because it had already been filled out, and I didn't see a reset button or anything. So I decided to FaceTime Penik when I got home from my trip on Sunday. So where does he answer the FaceTime? Shirtless on a beach.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how my Sunday continued.
Me and Justin, for the first time ever, we're like, you know what? We're putting our lives over a Giants preseason game, and I think both of us didn't regret it. I got to see my favorite NASCAR team win their 100th race in Daytona, so I'm glad.
I sat on a beach and I talked to Chris Rose while I was shirtless and bearded.
Bobby, maybe you didn't hear me. I got an answer on FaceTime from a shirtless Penik. He had food caught in his beard, but the rest of him looked glorious. So
I think I've answered Justin FaceTimes on the toilet. So you're not,
okay, well,
I can one up you if you want me to.
I think we're good. My man. We are going to start with we did the power rankings of our divisions earlier in the offseason. So I guess we're going to start with what we presumed was the toughest division, according to us, and that would be the AFC North. So Penik, why don't you run through your records for the 4 teams in the AFC North, and then Bobby, you'll go, and then I'll go.
Oh boy. The AFC North. I got my Cincinnati Bengals. The TPP came out on Monday, by the way. Cincinnati Bengals sitting at 13-4, winning their division. They went 4-2 in the division. I have the Baltimore Ravens taking a little bit of a step back at 10-7. I've been hinting at that a little bit all offseason. I have the Cleveland Browns at 9-8, and I have the Pittsburgh Steelers not having a record above 500 for the first time in a long time.
Wow.
At 8-9. Still a good division.
Interesting.
Very good division.
Bobby?
Yeah, for me, this was my strong, tied for the best ranked number 4 team, the best number 3 team, the second best number 2 team, and then, not the best number 1 team. But I have the Steelers at 7-10. I just don't think this is a team that can compete with the other teams in their division, really. I think the other 3 teams in their division are clearly better than them. Injuries happen, things happen, the Steelers find a way, but I'm not letting the fact that they never have had a record below 500, change my thoughts on this roster and this team. So I have the Steelers at 7-10, which again is the best number 4 team I have, tied for the best. The Browns at 10-7. I think that defense is really good. They're gonna beat up on some teams. I do have the Ravens second as well, but I do have them at 12-5. You know, I think Harbaugh and Lamar, they find a way to win games, and they've always just been able to get the most out of the talent they have. And then the Bengals at number 1 at 13-4. The Bengals get to play the Patriots week 1, so they don't, you know, if they lose week 1 again, it's just going to be utter chaos because they can't. You know, we just did the Bengals TPP. They're 1-7 with Joe Burrow in their week 1 and week 2 games, but I have the Bengals at 13-4.
Yeah, well, okay, so we are all seeing this similarly with the Cincinnati Bengals because I too have them at 13-4. Yeah, it's fascinating, right? But you look at their first month out of the gate. It's home against New England, at Kansas City, home against Washington, at Carolina. Like if they're not 3-1 going into week 5 at home against Baltimore, and then heck, they got you guys the next week. Like they could get out of the gate fast, so they can stockpile some. They have to. Yeah, they have to. Here's the interesting thing. I have 3 of their 4 losses coming in the division. I have them just being a 500 team in the division. The Ravens I have next at 11-6, in part because I have them getting. I don't know how I did this, so I'm not even going to tell you what I have them going in the division because I can't quite figure out why I've got all these records the way I do. But you know, you pick every game, and so you kind of lose track, and then at the end, you're like, oh my God, I have them doing this. I have Cleveland and Pittsburgh both being 9-8, but the Browns finishing 3rd because of a better divisional record. I do think that the Steelers are going to surprise us with a couple of victories because they seemingly always do. And I know that we are fed up with what's going on with the quarterback position, but no matter whom they choose, and I think it will be Russell Wilson because I don't think it was much of a contest going in anyway or competition, that the play is going to be better than they had last year where they got 10 wins. That's the way I see it.
I agree. I can't remember when we last talked about the Steelers, but I said I do think this is a better Steelers team than it was last year. And if they get Ayuk, like I actually have some actual hope for this team, but I don't think that's happening at this point. But I still have them having a worse record, even though I view them as a better team.
But a significantly worse record. You have them at 7-10. They won 10 games last year.
Yeah, but did you view them as like what other team won 10 games last year? Did you view that I'm on the same level as that team?
No, I never did because of their quarterback play, which I think will be better. It's not going to be great, but it's going to be better. I mean, if Russell Wilson plays, are you going to tell me that he wasn't better than Mitchell Trubisky or Mason Rudolph or Kenny Pickett?
Okay, sure, but what we did our QB rankings like not too long ago. Do you remember like around the area you had Russell Wilson?
Not high.
Yeah, so it's like I agree, better than Kenny Pickett, but I still think there's a lot of issues with that offense, and I love what they did in the draft, but I don't know if the draft, like Fautanu may really struggle as a rookie.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
he had some struggles in the preseason. Like that's even if he's good long term, he's someone I view as someone who's going to struggle at tackle as a rookie.
Yeah, listen, they're bringing in 2 rookies on an offensive line, and so we'll see how that works out. Penik, you had the Steelers last. What was their record with you?
I had them 8-9. So I mean, it kind of sucks that you can't go 500 anymore,
right?
Which I do think eventually
8-1
teams will go 500 again because I do think they're going to add another regular season game.
Yeah,
but it kind of sucks that you can't go 500. I view them as a 500 team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, there's not that much difference between 9-8 and 8-9. Let's be honest.
Right, there's literally one game. So.
And by the way, with Cleveland, I did have the Browns losing to Dallas in week 1. And so that could be the swing game to me. Like if they do that, then things could change for the Browns.
See, that game to me is I can't wait for our week 1 preview because I think that game's must watch because Dallas always starts hot.
Always.
But that Cleveland defense, man, can be a fucking monster. It's that's going to be a great game. I really can't wait. I picked the Browns to win that game. So I guess, that's the difference of, mine and your record, me having them 10-7, you having them at 9-8. But I do have them winning that game. I think there's a lot of turmoil. I do have Dallas at a good record, but a lot of turmoil in Dallas.
All right, let's move on to our second-ranked division. That would be the other North, the NFC North. This year, it has become virtually must-watch, and I cannot believe. So this is great. I explained to you guys that I didn't really look at the records I had until now. I cannot believe what I have the Lions at. I cannot believe it. I have no idea how I got to this point, but this is going to be great. So, Bobby, why don't you start us?
Well, I want to know, what do you have the Lions at?
I'm embarrassed to say. I cannot believe I did this to them. They're 9-8. How did they get 8? How did they get 8 losses? I cannot. Can I click on this and see what I did to them? Let me see here.
Okay, so I got okay. So every year there's surprises, right?
Yeah.
The playoffs are different every year. It's hard to like predict those surprises. I do have like a little back of my brain worry about the Lions.
Okay.
Like, are they going to be as hungry? Maybe they're hungrier because they got so close. I do have a little bit of worry about the Lions. Like, their secondary. I love their secondary additions. Are those guys actually going to improve the team a ton? But I still am really high on the Lions, which you'll see by the end of this episode. Wink, wink.
All right, so let me tell you a little bit about how I got to 9-8, because this even shocked me. Like, I did not go look at the final records until now. I think I was in a state of coma. I was like in a comatose state yesterday because of my travels when I did this. But like through the first 5 games, which are not totally easy, they've got the Rams coming to them. I think that's the Sunday night football.
Yep,
if I'm not
Sunday
mistaken.
night game.
Yeah, and listen, the Rams, I think Sean McVay is going to have them uber prepared week 1. And I think that maybe that's like the opportunity for a little bit of a letdown for the Lions out of the gate. Like, sometimes that happens. Week 1 is weird. So that's why I picked that one. I have them beating the Buccaneers and the Cardinals and the Seahawks to get to 3-1 before their bye. I have them beating Dallas, but then I have them losing like at Minnesota, at Green Bay. I have them losing against the Texans. I have them losing against the Colts. That must be an at Indy game. That because always somebody loses.
It is an at Indy game.
Somebody loses at Indy. I have the Bills winning in Detroit. I have the Bears winning at home against them. I have the Niners winning at home against them. So all of a sudden you stack it up. Like, they've got some games where you're like, okay, well, now all of a sudden, Rose, you don't sound as idiotic as you think you are, which I think I am.
I just think their O-line and their D-line's too good. They get DJ Reader from. I mean, we know the O-line is undoubtedly and unequivocally the best offensive line in football, and I think that it's going to allow them to do whatever they want on the offensive side. It's going to allow. I mean, Jared Goff has always been a quarterback that gets rid of the ball quick in Detroit, but it's going to allow that average depth of target to go up if they want more. It's going to allow them to run more intermediate routes between 10 to 19 yards. So we know the offensive line is that good. And even on the defensive side of the ball, adding DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil's the real deal. Aiden Hutchinson is the real deal heading into year number 3 where, hey, maybe he could even get better with just more experience, and he's getting stronger and getting more experience. So I don't know, man. And they did make additions in the secondary. You have Brian Branch year 2, who I think could be an all-pro player. So I don't know, man. I just think this team is super, super ultra talented right now, and I think they're too talented to. I would consider 9-8 a failure, Chris.
Oh, it's a huge.
I'm with you. God, I hope I'm wrong.
So I have them at 13-4 as my 1 seed for all those reasons you just said. But the secondary, they made real improvements, right? They went from having practice squad guys playing for them in important moments to, drafting one in the first round of Terry and Arnold, drafting Ennis Rakestraw, and then bringing in Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson, guys who all those guys are long man corners who fit their scheme. So I have them at 13-4. I have the Packers at 10-7. Some tough games on that schedule being number 2. I have the Chicago Bears at 9-8, which eventually does miss out on the playoffs, but it's going to be a really fun year for Chicago. And I have the Vikings 5-12. Like, I'm just not high on Minnesota. I don't like Sam Darnold. I think he's too inconsistent. Defensively, sometimes Brian Flores' teams start a little bit slow. Sometimes that's because of the offense, but nonetheless, they weren't good defensively early last year. I just go through the Vikings schedule and tell me the games that you're like, oh, this is the game that they're favored, and they're just not there. So I have the Vikings at 5-12.
Yeah, not a lot for me for the rest of the division. So I've got Green Bay at 12-5. You guys know how high I am on Green Bay. The Bears, I actually have them at 10-7. I just, for whatever reason, I'm on the hype train. I want to see a true difference maker in Chicago for the first time since Walter Payton offensively. Then I've got the Lions at 9-8, which everybody can laugh at me and tell me what an idiot I am. And I hope I am, because I like their organization. I want to root for them. I do believe there is something to being the hunted instead of the hunter. That is a really, really tough thing for some teams.
It is. It is different.
It is. And I know that I believe in Dan Campbell and what he has built there, but still you got to show it to me. And then I've got the Vikings at 6-11. One of those wins I do have over the Lions, because Minnesota, you could say whatever you want. It is a tough place to play, guys. And they always win something. Like even last year, they were in a bunch of games and they had started 4 different quarterbacks. You're like,
oh, they had no business being in those games.
Right. And so they'll always be a tough, like I could see them winning 24-23 against the Lions when they come to town.
Right. I hope the Bears figure out a way to get in the playoffs, because, like, I'll just say, right, like I have the Cowboys in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I want the Bears in the playoffs so much more than the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm a Giants fan. It's because, you know what, like I'm just tired of seeing this team lose in the first round, not be a real contender despite the talent they have. And I would love to see the Bears up, and even if they lose in the first round, I want to see that Chicago team go into and experience that playoffs. And because I really do think they're building something special there with the talent they have with Caleb Williams.
I know we're not on the NFC East yet, but I did find while doing this exercise, the performance and the overall play and how the Eagles and the Cowboys, what types of teams they are this year, it is really, really, like, it could dictate what the NFC looks like in terms of playoff teams. Like, I think it is the difference between are the Bears a playoff team. Like, I even feel bad about having the Vikings as bad as they are, and I somehow go back to, like, do I really think the Eagles and the Cowboys are both going to be double-digit win teams? It's like, on paper, yes, but there's a lot of things going wrong there. We're not in the NFC East yet. Maybe we'll save some of that.
Yeah, why don't we? You want to just roll through your North before we get to the
NFC
I'm
going to roll through my North. 12-5, and honestly, I feel like that's conservative
for the Lions.
I feel 12-5 for the Lions is conservative.
Okay,
so I have the Lions winning the division. I have the Green Bay Packers at 11-6. I think they're going to beat up at each other. I think this is a division that is going to really beat up on each other. I have every single team in this division having at least 2 division wins. Where the Lions, I had them going 5-1, and then the Packers and the Bears. Surprisingly, I had them going 2-4, and then the Vikings, I had them going 3-3. So I had the Bears going 7-10, which I don't love, but honestly, in a division that is so talented, I would view the Bears going 7-10 as a successful first year. And then I have the Vikings going 5-12. So 12-5, 11-6, 7-10, 5-12, with the Lions, Packers, Bears, and then Vikings.
Okay. All right, we're going to move over to the NFC West. I'll hit lead off on this one. So outside of my Browns, my favorite team to watch in the NFL is the San Francisco 49ers. And I wouldn't even say the Browns are my favorite team to watch. They're just most near and dear to my heart. They, just like the Giants for you, give me some angst occasionally. But San Francisco, I just love the way that Kyle Shanahan coaches. I love the talent that is up there. We have talked that we're all at least a little bit concerned about the injury bug that's going on, and who knows how this Brandon Ayuk thing is going to work its way out. But I do believe it will in favor of the team here. So I've got the Niners at 13-4. I am a big believer in what Sean McVay does. I don't know if it's because we're both Miami of Ohio guys, because we both played receiver. He at school, me on the intramural team, whatever it was, I am a big believer in what he does. So I've got them second at 12-5. I've got the Seahawks at 8-9. I like what Mike McDonald is doing with that team. I was just up there for the preseason. I think he will keep the energy going that Pete Carroll had up there for 15 years, but I do think they're in a really tough division with a couple of heavyweights. And I got the Cardinals at 6-11, but very watchable this year. So that's the way I see them. Penik, what do you got?
I got the 49ers at 12-5. I got the Rams at 10-7. I am not sold that the 49ers are just going to walk away with this division. But the Rams, you do just get the impression that there may be a game that they steal, but then there's also going to be some games that they just let get away from them. And I don't know if the 49ers are going to just let games get away from them. I do have the Seahawks going 9-8. And I have the Cardinals going 7-10.
Yeah, well, so we're not far off, you and I.
No.
Not at all. Bobby?
Yeah, I think we all have the same order. 49ers my 1 seed. They're 14-3. I think that's
wow,
just so talented. I mean, they're my number 1 team.
You're not worried. I'm worried about that O-line, Bobby.
Justin, you act like this offensive line didn't play this the exact same group from last year.
But I think they're bad, though. They're bad.
What do you watch the 49ers were in overtime of the Super Bowl with the exact same unit?
I know.
They have all pros at every single position. Every single position. And I like some of the guys they drafted too. So 49ers at 14-3. They're the most talented team in the NFL. Have the best left tackle in football too. The Rams went 11-6. I'm really high on the Rams. Sean McVay is my number 1 coach in the NFL. The Seahawks 8-9. Now I think the Seahawks could be a surprise. I could see them and the Rams swapping. I think they're going to be so well coached, and they don't have like star talent across the roster. But you go look at 22 starters that they have outside of the offensive line, which is key and why I have them 8-9. Tell me which starter on defense is a bad player. They don't have one. They don't have a bad player as a starter on their defense. Offensively, they got good talent. I like Geno more than most. And the Cardinals 5-12, which I kind of love this Cardinals offense. I think they're going to be fun to watch. They're in a tough division. You look at their schedule outside the division is really tough. They don't have any talent on defense. They're going to be an awful defensive team again. I have them at 5-12.
Real quickly, I want to go back to San Francisco's schedule because they have a really odd schedule the entire season. Now, they start at home on Monday Night Football against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. So you've got a short week and a flight across-ish country. It's a 3-hour flight to Minnesota, but it's still on a short week and everything else. Eventually, they've got a span starting week 10 in mid-November where 3 times in 4 weeks they got to get on a plane and travel to a playoff team from a year ago. They're at Tampa. Then 2 weeks later, they're at Green Bay, and then they're at Buffalo. So my guess is they end up staying somewhere. That's going to be fun. No, they're going to have Thanksgiving. God almighty. That's rough for them.
Yeah, this is a rough back end where, like you said, the Bucks, you missed the Seahawks for week 11.
Yeah, but
Packers,
it's a home game. Yeah.
Bills, Bears, Rams, Dolphins, Lions, Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an easy stretch.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the other part of that. Cardinals, clearly more talented than Lions. That'll be a good one. Dolphins, late season. I'm not worried about that one. The Rams, that'll be a good
Dolphins
one.
are home.
Chicago, as much as I love Chicago, 49ers are way more talented. And then Buffalo, like, again, my losses for them do come mostly in that stretch. Like I think they beat Kansas City early in the season or week 7. And basically every loss I have is coming in that stretch, because I only have 3 losses for them, but they're going to beat Dallas at home. We have any doubt of that. I think they win the Kansas City game. They have the Patriots. So I think the losses come in there, but I think there's only 3 of them.
Well, let's remember last year they lost 3 in a row in the middle of that season.
Yep.
And I think they go, it was like the Minnesota,
Cleveland.
Was that it? It was
Cleveland was the first
Minnesota.
game because Debo got injured in that game. Trent Williams was
also hurt at 1.2.
It was
Cleveland,
Minnesota, and Cincinnati. Yep.
Yeah. So it does happen to them where they can fall into a little bit of a hole and then they dig themselves out and they get rolling. But they're talented. They're exceptionally well coached. They're well built. And we are all big believers in the San Francisco 49ers. Shock. Let's move over to the AFC East. Penik, why don't you hit leadoff on this one?
Yeah. Our New York Jets will finish with a record of 12-5 this year and be the number 2 seed in the AFC. The Buffalo Bills will be 11-6. The Miami Dolphins are respectable 9-8, but they do miss the playoffs. And then the New England Patriots 3-14. Ouch.
3-14.
Ouch is right.
Okay. Bobby?
Bills or Patriots 2-15. That just that offensive line's awful, and they don't even know who's starting yet. Like it's really bad. I'm not even talking about quarterback. It's just a rough offensive situation. I think defensively they got talent, but they lost Judon. I don't think Gerard Mayo is going to be the same coach that Bill Belichick is. Dolphins 7-10. They lost
7-10.
They lost a lot of talent, man, and they got to play some. What'd they go last year? 10-7. The Jets are a formidable team now. Last year when they played the Jets, they were not a formidable team. Wow. I have the Jets at 10-7, and then the Bills at 11-6. I think Josh Allen wins the MVP this year because it's an expected down year, and you're going to see how much heavy lifting Josh Allen has done. And it's MVP can be a narrative base, and he doesn't have Stephon Diggs. Like, if you ask someone who their number one wide receiver is right now, you'd get 10 different answers. I think the Bills go 11-6, and I think Josh Allen wins MVP.
Wow. So a worse record, but an individual honor for him.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. My AFC East, I have the Bills at 12-5. I do think that's a case of the addition by subtraction with Stephon Diggs. I spoke with a guy who played in Buffalo recently, and he said, listen, Diggs is actually a good teammate from the standpoint of, like, when the defense is on the field, he is on the sideline yelling for him. He's not, like, sulking in a corner. He said, can he be a diva? Absolutely. 100%. He goes, but he's not nearly as bad as people portray him to be. But he does think that it will be a little bit of pressure off of Josh Allen. And he said the thing is that Buffalo does not support Josh Allen enough, that he feels like he has to do everything, and he has not learned how to kind of divvy up the responsibilities because he just doesn't feel like there's enough help up there. So I got all that intel. I thought that was fascinating. But I still have them winning the division at 12-5, which I have the same record for the Jets. I have them having the same divisional record as well. So whatever the next tiebreaker is, because I think I have them splitting during the regular season as well. I've got Miami falling from 11-6. Bobby, that's what they were. They weren't 10-7. They were 11-6 last year, down to 9-8. And you talked about the improvement of the Jets. Not only did they win the 2 games against the Jets, they outscored them like 64 or 63-14, something like that. The games were not close. They will be close this year. In fact, the Jets will win at least one, if not both. And then the Patriots, I have them going winless in the division and finishing at 4-13. So we kind of all see it similarly. We don't have one team running away with the division. We all like the Jets and Bills 1 and 2, and we all think the Dolphins are taking a step back. We all starting to think alike.
Yeah, we talk too much. Here's my thing with the Dolphins. Tell me which game you're picking to win in their last 6. At Packers, home versus Jets. At Texans, home versus 49ers. At Cleveland Browns. At New York Jets. Say they split with the Jets, which is what I have them doing.
That is the only game that I have them winning in this stretch.
I think
they split with the Jets.
That's the same thing that I have. I have them splitting with the Jets in that. Now the Browns could, depending on what's happening there offensively, could be a team that has fallen apart or something. So things change, but I don't love this Miami team.
Being from Cleveland, I can tell you that the weather on a Sunday night football game, December 29th, will not be ideal for Miami.
Exactly. Exactamente.
I just want to let you know. However, that is one of those games that could get flexed. They might flex that by week 2. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
It'll still be cold, though.
Yes, it will. Whether it's a 1 o'clock kick or an 8:20 kick. You are correct about that.
Whoa. Stop what you're doing, because I got to talk to you about DraftKings. And thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring today's show, whether you're cheering on your alma mater or just for the love and the thrill of college football. You're going to want to listen to this right now. Did you know that all new customers, if you just bet $5 on anything, you're going to get back $200 in bonus bets instantly? That's something that we can all celebrate. So right now, new customers can bet just $5 on anything, receive $200 in bonus bets instantly. DraftKings, I'll tell you what, they're bumping up their game because it used to be, you bet $5, get $100, $5, get $150. No, we're betting $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Stay in on all the action. Use bet anytime touchdowns. Put together a parlay. Do something crazy and fun, but do it responsibly, of course. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code football today. That's all one word. Bet $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code football today. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Even if you're signed up, tell a friend to sign up. Use code football today. And then maybe it's like, hey, since you basically just got $150 from me, maybe slide me a 20. How about that? That's an idea. And you'll be glad you did. Now back to the show.
Okay. We are at your guys' division, the NFC East. Bobby Skinner, why don't you take it from here?
I have the Eagles at 13-4. There's been a lot of reasons for me to get off of my Eagles are going to bounce back stance. But you know what? I'm staying with it, right? I don't love Kellen Moore. We did see him at Patriots camp, and they just really struggled picking up the blitz, which was their issue last year. But I just think they're too talented to fail. And I think they have 4 wins, easy wins in their division with the Giants and the Commanders. And I like them better, I like them better than Dallas. I think they go 6-0 in the division this year. Even if we're talking about like we were last year when they were 9-1, or this doesn't look the same, I still think they win games. So I have the Eagles going 13-4. The Cowboys 10-7. They've got a pretty damn tough schedule now that they are facing that first place schedule. Their record versus playoff teams has never been great. The New York Giants going 7-10. A 1-game improvement from last year when disaster hit. And then the Washington Commanders, I have it 3-14. I'm really down on Washington.
Rose?
Okay. I've got Philly winning the division at 11-6, even though I have them having a worse divisional record than the 10-7 Dallas Cowboys. I've got the Cowboys going 5-1 in the division. Their only loss will be at Philly. I think they're going to take care of business elsewhere. The thing with the Dallas Cowboys, let me give you the rest of the division. I'll go back to the Dallas Cowboys once Penik is done. I've got the Giants at 6-11, and I've got the Commanders at 3-14 after picking up just one NFC East win. Penik, you finish it up.
Yeah, I have the Eagles going 13-4. Even though it's again, there are these things in the back of my mind saying it will fall apart, it will fall apart, it will fall apart. I'm not going to believe it until I actually see it. I was stubborn even with them last year and wound up biting me in the ass. The Cowboys 11-6. The Giants I have 6-11, even though I do think they can get to 7. And 7 was my prediction. But 6-11 for this exercise. And then 3-14, your Washington Commanders are in last with the 2nd overall pick in next year's NFL draft.
Okay.
I have them with the 4th pick in the NFL draft at 3-14.
So with the Dallas Cowboys, I was fascinated that at the end of the day, and once again, I think I was as shocked as anybody once I went back and saw, because I just picked every game and then I figured out, that's interesting. I didn't know I had them finishing 10-7. That I do have them going 5-1 in the division, but only having 10 wins overall. I have them losing both home games against AFC North teams in Baltimore and Cincinnati.
Fair.
I have them losing at Pittsburgh, which is probably the one where I'm least confident. But once again, that's one of those weird sort of games. You always pick one or two a year where you're like, okay, well, I think that's the way it's going to happen. But I don't have them beating the Lions. I don't have them beating San Francisco. I don't have them being the best team in the state of Texas. I have them losing to the Texans.
Agreed.
So add it all up, and even though they do really well in the division, that's about it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with Dallas. Is like that. They won the division last year, so they got the first place schedule. The only first place team I have them beating is the Bucs.
Okay. You guys have Philadelphia a little higher than I do. I think you both have them at 13 wins. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah. I still think they win the division. I just don't think they're as dominant.
They're just so talented on offense.
They are. Right? They're talented everywhere.
Everywhere. Tell me Jahan Dotson's their worst starter as a skill position. They still have a awesome offensive line. I like Jalen Hurts, I guess, more than most at this point. And then defensively, they added Vic Fangio. Like, I think the defense is going to be good this year with the talent they have and Vic Fangio as the coach. Even if it's not like this great dominating defense, I think they'll end up being top 10 in scoring. And I think that's such a huge upgrade for what they had defensively coaching last year with Sean Desai and Matt Patricia.
You know, and Jalen Carter could be a superstar. You have Bryce Huff, who had really nice advanced metrics, is now going to a place where pass rushers have been able to succeed in the past. You still have some good names in the secondary. They may not be as great as they once were in 2022, but they're still good. And they
Kenyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
Yep, and you added who I think is the best defensive player in this year's draft in Quinyon Mitchell. Even though corners sometimes take a little time to transition, but they're on paper it's just too good to fail. But I could also see it going up in flames. I could easily see it going up in flames because that's what the city of Philadelphia does. This is just what sometimes these teams do, where they feel and they sense pressure that may or may not even be legitimate, but they create it, their fans create it, and then I can easily see it going up in flames. And this team, like, even if they finish like at a 9-8, that is another team where it's like a catastrophic. I think even if they finish at 10 wins, you're sensing that there's gripes and division within that organization, even if they finish with 10 wins.
Well, if they finish with 9 or 10 wins, I think Nick Sirianni's a goner. I think that's the way it goes. I know exactly where the differences between your two picks of 13 wins and mine of 11 are. I've got losing at Tampa in a playoff rematch, and I also have them losing to your Giants in Week 7 in Saquon's return. So you guys are welcome.
I need that so badly. The Giants win one game this year. Let it be that game.
I'm trying to think of you guys. There's always something that goes amiss because everybody can fill out this little thing that we all did and go, no, that's not going to happen. And it always happens. I'm telling you, when I do these highlight shows, there are always games where you're like, how the hell did that happen?
No, I agree 100%. And we're going to get to a point where we go through some, like, let me just say that my 4 worst teams, their records are 1-16, 2-15 teams, and 3-14. I know that's not going to happen, but when I'm doing this, I'm trying to not do too many like big surprises because just like it's hard to predict that. So it's like I know the 4 worst teams won't have that record; they'll be better. But I do feel confident that those are just the 4 worst teams in football.
Right. All right. Let's move on. We have got the AFC West. Bobby, you just went, so I'll do the AFC West first.
You guys are gonna. My AFC West is hot.
Mine is not. I have one winning team in the division, and we all know who that is because they're going undefeated in the division. That is the 2-time defending Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. That is not happening. Okay, but it is going to happen. So they finish at 13-4, and they'll be the 2 seed in the playoffs. I've got Denver and the Chargers both at 7-10, and I've got the Raiders checking in at 5-12. Bobby, what do you have?
I also have the Chiefs at 13-4 and the number 1 seed in the AFC. I have another team that's going to go 13-4, and that's the Los Angeles Chargers.
Come on, Bobby. Enough.
We do it every time with Jim Harbaugh. Oh, where's the town? This team won 5 games.
You just said you didn't want to do any hot takes.
This is not a hot take. This is
the hell. It's not. It's 13-4.
No. What I said is I'm not going to do like surprise. Like, oh, I know this team's way worse, but I'm not going to pick the Patriots versus, the Bills just because there's going to be some surprise game in there.
We've done how many episodes of Football Today this offseason? I think this is the hottest.
I've been saying it all offseason. I've been saying it all offseason.
Not 13. Not 13.
That's a lot of wins, dude.
Here's the thing they have going with them, right? They're going to go 4-0 versus the Broncos and Raiders, right? Maybe. I do think they split with the Chiefs. Okay. So I have them going 5-1 in the division.
Okay.
They play the Panthers week 2. They play the Steelers week 3.
Guys, that's not going to be as easy as you think it is. It's just not.
They have Justin Herbert, and they're going to have a top 5 rushing attack. They have the Broncos week 6. They have the Cardinals week 7. They have the Saints week 8. They have the Browns week 9. That's an L for them. They have the Titans week 10. They have the Bengals week 11. The Ravens week 12. I remember that was definitely an L for them. They have the Falcons, then the Chiefs, the Bucks, Broncos, Patriots, and Raiders to finish the season.
Do you have them beating the Falcons?
It's the easiest schedule in football. Yes, I have them beating the Falcons.
Road trip, not easy. Falcons will probably be humming along at that point of the year. You know what? It's interesting. Like at the end of the year, I don't know, man.
So let's even just say, hey, Kansas City. Let's just say they go 0-2, right? That's 2 losses right there.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders, Panthers, Steelers. Which one do they lose in there?
I've got them losing to the Steelers.
Okay. Broncos, Cardinals, Saints, Browns. 1-3 or 3-1 in that stretch. They have the easiest schedule in football. They have a coach who turns around everything. They have Justin Herbert. They have a top 5. They're going to have a top 5 rushing offense. They've got some pass rushers on defense.
I don't know.
I just don't think the talent's there. And I also don't think they're going to score a ton of points.
All right. All right. You know what? This, the 9th time will be the time that Jim Harbaugh fails in turning around a season in 1 year.
No, here's the thing. I have them going 7-10, and I think that's a really good year for the Chargers.
It's a failure for Jim Harbaugh to go 7-10 with the Broncos and Raiders in your division.
I would agree that it would not be successful, but that's exactly where I see him after year 1. I think they have
no talent, man, and they're not going to score a ton of points.
I wouldn't say they have no talent.
They're going to have a top 5 rushing offense and Justin Herbert as their quarterback.
Well, we'll see if they're top 5 rushing. Just because they want it, just because Jim Harbaugh likes to run the ball.
Greg Roman has done it every single year with every single team. Usually, top 5 is being like a little pessimistic. They're usually number 1 with the Bills, number 1 rushing offense. 49ers, that was actually one of the lower ones. They were like number 4, number 5. Then the Ravens, number 1 rushing offense every year. And now he gets his, hey, Lamar might be better than Justin Herbert. Lamar is better than Justin Herbert. But Jim Harbaugh gets the best quarterback that he's ever coached.
I would agree with that.
You get Jesse Minter, who's in the Mike McDonald, coaching tree as the defensive coordinator.
He's now in the Mike McDonald coaching tree.
Joey Bosa. Or say Harbaugh, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack on the edges, so you got some pass rush to work with.
They're thin at receiver. We can agree on that.
Yep, they've got a quarterback who lifts up receivers though continuously. Tyler Guyton has catching 70-yard touchdown passes.
Well, we'll see. This is an interesting one. If they come back and they win, you know what? Even if they win 10 games, Bobby, I will give you full credit for your prediction.
Oh yeah, I will buy you flowers if they.
I don't want flowers.
No, he doesn't want flowers.
Like I'll give you your flowers. I think that's the phrase.
Penik, what do you have here in this division?
What do I have in this great division? I have the Chiefs going 12-5. I have the Chargers going 7-10, and I have the Broncos and the Raiders going 5-12.
God, none of us are believers in the Sean Payton Bo Nix marriage right out of the gate, huh? Although I have them winning 7 games, so that's not bad.
That'd be awesome for them.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think they'll, Sean Payton has his return to New Orleans this year. By the way, I didn't even notice that till I did the schedule.
Oh,
New Orleans is winning that.
I would agree with you.
They didn't beat the Jets when he talked all that shit about Hackett with Zach Wilson as quarterback. I think New Orleans wins the rematch.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's see here. Let's move on to the AFC South. Bobby, you want to do this one?
So this is one of the more competitive divisions, actually. Like I said the Steelers were tied with my highest number 4 team. They were tied with the Titans, who I have at 7-10. I have the Jags and Colts both going 8-9. I think the Colts don't win a ton of games early on, some tough schedule, and then rally towards the end of the year. And then the Texans, I have 11-6. Really like the Texans. Think they can compete with anybody in the AFC, but I just have them as I guess the They are my number 4 seed, same record as the Bills at 11-6.
Penik?
What did you have the Titans going at, Bob?
7-10.
Okay.
Pretty good.
I have the Texans winning the division at 11-6. I have our Colts going 10-7, making the playoffs. Jags missing the playoffs at 9-8, and then the Titans at 5-11.
5-11?
Mm-hmm.
You have them just giving up a game they don't want to play?
This is... Oh, you want to know what?
I had a couple of those, too. I had to go back and look. I was like, wait, why are they only playing 16 games?
6-11. I'm giving it to them. It may not be right, but do the Titans and the Vikings play each other this year?
I mean, come on. Really? I don't know. Click on that thing. See if they do. It'll be fun.
They do, and I didn't choose that game. All right, so I already gave the Vikings an additional win, so I'm giving the Titans are finishing 5-12.
That's where I've got them. So I've got Houston, and we'll make it a clean sweep here. Houston at 10-7, the Jags at 9-8. I do not believe in the Colts at all.
Same.
Titans and Colts bringing up the bottom at 5-12. I think that the Colts are. I've got big question marks about them all over the place. Anthony Richardson, and he started one season in college. That's it. He made it through 4 games last year. I don't know what he is. I want to see him stay healthy and play the entire year.
I don't know why the NFL world's crowning him, by the way. I agree. And here's the thing. So I have them going like 2-6, like through the first 8 games. But I'm doing this as if Anthony Richardson is the starting QB. If he gets injured, like I agree. I think this team tumbles like pretty quickly, or they're a team that defensively they give up. If it's a struggle early on, we saw a lot of the same players just quit on the team a couple years ago. But I do have them going 8-9 at the end of the day.
So their Thursday night game against the Bengals was on Amazon, and I was not watching the game. I just saw the clip of Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit bringing up the possibility that Joe Flacco could replace an ineffective Anthony Richardson. I was like, wait a second. What? Like that sounded like something from the Skip Bayless.
No.
World. That was a strange comment.
It's just I think defensively they're going to be really bad, and I'm not crowning Anthony Richardson.
I just want to see what he is.
Yeah,
I have no idea what he is. That's
I agree.
all.
He can be great, but there's been, for some reason, he's been crowned. Like anytime he makes, like he threw that pick 6 the other day, and people were like losing their minds to be like, well, actually, it's like, well, that was a really bad play. Right? If you want to blame it on the tight end or whatever, like that's a bad play.
Fine. And by the way, that's okay. You're allowed to have bad plays.
Yeah. I'm not crowning this
young
guy yet.
He might just need a full year to figure it out. That's
like
okay.
he has every film head, they post the same clip of him last year. Like there's I haven't seen a second clip of all 22 on Anthony Richardson.
The jump throw
last year.
He had another jump throw during week 3 of the preseason against the Bengals.
He's just like another number 15 from the Florida Gators.
All right.
Oh, stop it.
Let's get through this last division, the NFC South, quickly, and then we'll hit the playoffs. Penik?
I have the Falcons at 10-7. I have the Bucks at 8-9. I have the Saints taking a little bit of a fall at 6-11. And I have the Panthers, your number 1 overall pick of next year's draft, at 3-14.
Bobby?
Falcons 10-7. Saints 9-8 again. They're the new Steelers. The Bucks 6-11. Obviously a drop down, and then I have the Panthers at 1-16.
Wow. Ooh.
God. Falcons 10-7, Bucks 7-10, same record as the Saints, and the Panthers at 2-15. I don't think we need to discuss much more about that division. We all kind of see it similarly, although Bobby's in love with the
one of the best defenses in football with the Saints.
I know you love that. You really do. That's fine. Okay, let's get to the playoffs.
The bracket.
Yeah, the bracket. Bobby, why don't you give us your first round, I guess.
Wild card round. Wild card weekend. I got the Bengals over the Jets. Excited for that.
Okay.
One. Bills over the Ravens. Again. Chargers over Texans. On the road.
Oh my
to
God.
just run it down their throat.
That would be crazy.
And then, so you know how like I talk about like Eagles too good to fail. I think the issues show up in the playoffs. I think the Packers take over the Eagles, the Lions over the Cowboys, and then the Rams over the Falcons.
Penik?
All right, I'll start in the AFC. Texans and Bills, my 4 and 5. I have the Bills winning that. Jets and Ravens, 2 seed against 7 seed, and I have the Jets winning that. Chiefs Colts, I have the Chiefs winning. Moving on to the NFC. 49ers Rams, I have the Rams winning in an upset. 49ers are out in the first round of the playoffs. Lions Packers, I have the Lions winning. Falcons Cowboys, I have the Cowboys winning that game.
Okay. AFC, my 4-5 matchup. I've got the Texans beating Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. The 2 seed, the Kansas City Chiefs, besting the Dolphins again in Chile Arrowhead. And the 3 seed, the Bills, taking care of the Ravens. In the NFC, I have the Falcons losing a home game to the 5 seed, the Los Angeles Rams.
Damn.
I've got the 2 seed, the Packers, over their friends from the NFC North, the Bears. And I've got the Eagles as the 3 seed, taking care of the Dallas Cowboys in round 1.
Wait, I'm putting this together. You have the Bears in the playoffs and the Lions not.
I do. I told you. I said I had the Lions at 9 and 8. I wasn't sure how I got there, but after I went back and did the game by game, and I feel like they're a team that's going to take a step back, and I don't mind being wrong there. Do not mind being wrong.
So anytime we do any type of predictions for the entire league, it's going to get a reaction of like, what's the one thing I disagree with the most? And I'm going to call you a moron. I challenge anybody, go fill out game by game, because it really changes. Because like the Cardinals, I had them winning 5 games, right? In my head, I'm like, yeah, Cardinals won 7, 8 games. Like they got a lot of talent on offense. And then just go do it game by game, and it'll change the way you look at stuff. Obviously, like a lot of people are probably going to disagree with the Chargers. Obviously, people are going to disagree with the Lions. But like for all the other teams, go do the game by game and see where you land.
You just have to remember this. Every year there's a team that finished last the year before that ends up making the playoffs, and there's always at least one team that you're like, oh, they're a lock, and shit goes wrong.
Yep, go Chargers.
Happens. So let's get to the best weekend of football. That's the divisional round. Bobby, take us through.
I actually disagree. I think conference championship weekend's the best weekend in sports.
Okay.
Just because it's just 2 freaking games. It's so freaking amped up. I love it. I'm just thinking about sitting on a couch in Mobile, Alabama, watching a conference championship weekend.
With me.
It really gets me freaking jacked up. I have the Chiefs over the Chargers, so that series goes 2-1 for the year. The number 1 seed Chiefs over the number 5 seed Chargers. I have the number 2 seed Bengals beating the Bills. So we get Chiefs Bengals in the AFC Championship. I friggin' love it. I have the number 1 seed 49ers over the number 7 seed Packers. And then I have the Lions and Jared Goff beating Matthew Stafford in Ford Field again. And we get a 49ers-Lions NFC Championship game rematch.
All right. My 1 seed Bengals are facing the 5 seed Bills, and I have the Bengals winning that. 2 seed Jets versus the 3 seed Chiefs. And Aaron Rodgers gets it done. Goes on to the AFC Championship game. The 1 seed Eagles against the 7 seed Rams. I have the Rams beating the Eagles. The 3 seed Lions against the 5 seed Cowboys. I have the Lions going on to the NFC Championship game against the Rams. And then in the AFC, I have the Bengals and the Jets in the AFC Championship game.
Okay, for me, I've got the 1-seeded Bengals besting the 4 seed, the Houston Texans. I have the 2 seed, the Kansas City Chiefs, coming back from down a field goal with 13 seconds left to beat the Buffalo Bills. Over in the NFC, the 1-seeded San Francisco 49ers taking care of Sean McVay and the 5 seed, the Rams, and the 2 seed, the Packers, upending the Eagles. So my title games are Cincinnati hosting Kansas City, San Francisco playing host to Green Bay for the 2nd straight postseason. Gentlemen, who will be in the Super Bowl?
The Chiefs will beat the Bengals. And it's just the Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes thing between Bengals fans. It's just going to be nuts. The Lions They don't blow the lead this year. They stand strong. They remember that shit. They remember the Titans.
Wow.
We go for it on 4th down all night. The Lions over the 49ers. So we got Lions Chiefs in the Super Bowl. The winner will not have an asterisk next to them. Shout out Mike Tirico.
Yeah.
So the Bengals over the Jets in the AFC Championship game. So the Bengals are my AFC representative. I have the Lions over the Rams as my NFC representative. So my Super Bowl is going to be Bengals-Lions, and we're giving away our winners, right?
In a
Super
second.
Bowl?
Yeah. In a second.
No, you have to give a score prediction with the Super Bowl, by the way, too.
Okay.
So Cincinnati Bengals will be headed to the Super Bowl. He will take care of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Congratulations to them. And the Green Bay Packers are going to be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year. So Bengals, Packers. Bobby, who is kissing the Lombardi Trophy next February?
Dan Campbell is kissing that thing. He's slobbering with that thing. Jared Goff, we're talking about, is he elite? Is he a Hall of Famer? We're doing all that shit Monday morning. Lions 27, Chiefs 20. No team's ever three-peated in the Super Bowl. I'm not predicting it to happen for the first time ever.
Penik?
I have the Bengals and the Lions in the Super Bowl. It's funny, Chris, I took one of your teams, and Bobby, I took one of your teams.
Big Cats.
Bengals and Lions, and the Bengals. This is the Super Bowl with the Cats. The Bengals and Joe Burrow will win their first Super Bowl by a score of 24-21.
Wow. Okay. Congratulations to Jordan Love.
Wow.
So he is going to follow in the footsteps of Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and he is going to be another Super Bowl winning quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. 28-24 is your final over the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, the Packers won Super Bowl 31. Where? Down in New Orleans. It is going to happen again next February. There you go.
It's a rematch of Super Bowl one.
No. I have Packers Bengals.
Oh, I thought you had Packers. Anyways. It is not a rematch of Super Bowl one, people have been saying.
I'm just gonna let you sit with that.
I won't let you sit in your diaper on that one.
Could you imagine how lucky would it be if that does happen, Packers fans? It's like, yep, every QB we draft wins a Super Bowl.
Just keep doing it.
You just can't complain about anything. Right. Like, I don't want to ever hear you complain about anything if you're a Packers fan.
This was a really fun exercise. As Bobby said, go fill it out game by game. It'll make you look like an idiot too, but in a good, fun way. So go do it. Don't forget to get the mailbag out there. Send us your questions, whatever you got on our social media channels. Also, just leave it, here on YouTube as well. So thank you to everybody for tuning into this. This has been our 2024 regular season and postseason prediction. Tell us what you like most. Tell us what you like least. We can all take it. For Bobby Skinner and Justin Penik and producer Mikey, I am Chris Rose. We will see you later this week here on Football Today.